Super Earth, our home. Prosperity. Liberty.
Hi there.
Democracy. Our way of life.
Oh, hello.
But freedom doesn't come free.
No! Sweet liberty! No!
Look familiar? Scenes like these are happening all over the galaxy right now. You could be next. That is, unless you make the most important decision of your life. Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free.
What are you saying?
Join the Helldivers. Become part of an elite peacekeeping force.
Say that again.
See exotic new life forms. And spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy.
What's going on? What?
Become a hero. Become a legend. Become a Helldiver.
What are you talking about?
Helldivers 2 isn't just a game. Helldivers 2 is an adrenaline-fueled, democracy-spreading, over-the-top, explosive cinematic experience. Imagine some of the greatest war movies in history. Now imagine you are the one behind the scope. You are pulling the trigger. You are the one making the last stand so your buddies can get to safety. You are Super Earth's finest. Released on February 8th, 2024, I picked it up a few weeks after it started making a splash. All across my feeds, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, I was seeing these hilarious, explosive, and energetic moments, and I could only think of one thing.
I have got to get me one of these!
Truthfully, I don't even know where to start, so I'll just take it from the top.
Going on?
Upon starting the game, you're thrust into the boots of a young SEAF recruit on their way to take their Helldivers assessment. So you complete your Helldivers training, which serves as the game's tutorial, introducing you to the game's basic mechanics, how to shoot a gun, how to throw a grenade, how to call a stratagem. We've all done tutorials. Upon completion, you are awarded the coveted Helldivers Cape, the symbol of your very dedication to Super Earth and her glory. You are promptly frozen and then blasted off to your very own Super Destroyer. Congratulations, Diver. It's only hell from here.
Welcome to hell,
What?
Once on your Super Destroyer, which serves as a sort of player hub, your friends that join will arrive on your ship from the same entrance. It's a sort of conveyor of frozen Helldivers that thaw out whenever they're needed, I guess. Whatever, I don't fucking know. But there's a couple of NPCs that are on your ship constantly, and they serve as the ship's crew. Interacting with them yields little more than patriotic lines and little tidbits about what's going on in the Galactic War. Which leads me to my next point. The Galactic War. The Galactic War, given its Helldivers 2, is actually the second Galactic War, the first of which was fought and won by the Helldivers over 100 years ago in the original installment. Sadly, I missed out during its heyday, but from what I've seen, the differences between Helldivers 1 and Helldivers 2 are about night and day, but maybe I'll check it out. Either way, what is the Galactic War? The Helldivers wiki defines the Galactic War as the intergalactic conflict between the Federation of Super Earth, the Automatons, the Terminids, and the Illuminate. The last of which was only added to the video game in the biggest nutsack drop fucking company could ever do.
What? What are you talking about?
They did a shadow drop of the Illuminate during a presentation at the Game Awards on December 12th, 2024. Long story short, people lost their fucking minds. But we'll talk about that later. Nearly a year later, probably more than a year by the time I finish this, the game is going strong. That isn't to say the game didn't have some issues. Upon launch, and honestly with most online games it seems, many players complained about connectivity issues. Being in a full 40-minute mission only to be disconnected at the last minute, rendering all of your efforts, EXP, medals, samples, meaningless. Your time wasted, and you an empty husk of what you used to be. While today, connectivity is significantly better. There has been reports of connectivity issues while deploying on Illuminate-controlled planets. I personally have experienced some of these connectivity issues myself, but whatever. Some of the biggest complaints players voiced, massively, was the persistent nerfing to player-favorite weapons and stratagems. Arrowhead claimed such balances were introduced to promote build diversity and encourage players to experiment with different weapons. The biggest issue here is Helldivers isn't a PvP kind of game. It's completely co-op. The very bedrock foundation of teamwork makes the dream work. So why did the developers feel the need to balance things? Is it because teamwork makes a dream work only if everybody shoots the same amount of enemies? I don't fucking know. My point is, there's no actual competition, so there's no imbalance. So how can you balance something that isn't imbalanced? I don't know. But this pattern of nerfs and balances reached a boiling point, and Arrowhead finally listened. In August, they had announced a 60-day plan to return Helldivers to the explosive glory it was known to be. Return the power to the players, allowing them to feel like proverbial gods as they mow down hordes of democracy's enemies, and the feedback from that plan and implementation was pretty good. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We cannot ignore the single biggest fuck-up that nearly destroyed this game's bright and budding future.
The roof goes on, and nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong!
In early May, Steam divers, get it, you know, they're Helldivers, fuck off. Anyway, players on Steam was greeted with quite an unpleasant message. By the end of the week, they were required to link their Steam accounts with a PlayStation Network account. Otherwise, they would be able to play the game. Immediately, players began expressing their outrage. Some idiots going so far as to actually threaten the developers. As a side note, I completely understand that blood-boiling, vision-blurring, insatiable rage. I completely get being so angry with someone that you just want to punch them. But to actually message people, especially poor, hard-working developers of a video game, and threaten them to harm them over something like this is absolutely disgusting. You don't deserve to call yourself a person. You're an animal. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Back to democracy. Steam users took to what they knew would hurt. Steam reviews for the game tanked almost overnight. The chart on Steam went so hard in the negative, players started drafting their own review bomb capes as a meme, some of which were so impressive to the CEO, he himself tweeted out an acknowledgement. I want to take a second to point out just how much of a dick-slinging G this guy is. His name is Johan Pilstedt, I think. I don't know how to say his last name. Sorry, Johan. But he literally stepped down as CEO of the company, found his own replacement, and then rolled up his sleeves as the chief creative officer to, right the course. It was a real, captain grabbing the wheel and righting the ship kind of moment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. After just a weekend of player backlash, Sony and Arrowhead walked back their decision to implement the network linking, but Sony kept the game delisted in over 170 countries, rendering the game for thousands an unplayable shit heap of space on their hard drives. Player counts went from 345,000 at the end of April to just under 100,000 by June. It was a real genius idea there, guys. 10 out of 10. No notes. You guys remember that meme with the guy on a bike and he shoves a stick in his own spokes and then blames someone else? Sony took one look at that meme and thought, yeah, I could do that better.
What are you talking
things
about?
Things kind of quieted down after all of that. Player counts on Steam kept tumbling. By the end of July, player count had plunged to just about 38,000, or about 8.5% of the nearly 500,000 players diving just after launch, for those keeping count. Look how far we have fallen.
Mom? Dad? Mom? Dad? Where are you guys? Buzz?
In August, the players started foaming at the mouth once more due to someone's poorly thought out idea to implement fire nerfs just before launching a fire-themed war bond. Which I realize I haven't mentioned the war bonds yet, and perhaps if anyone is even still watching, you don't know what they are. So, similarly in other live service games, they have these things like battle passes or seasons. Well, that's effectively what a war bond is, except for I like war bonds. To understand why, you need to understand what a typical battle or season pass is. These passes are typically sold to players for real-world dollar amounts, typically between $10 or $20, depending on the game, size of the pass, and other factors, such as possible tie-ins or crossovers. Looking at you, Fart Knight. So, war bonds follow the similar formula. Released every couple of months, they usually introduce new weapons, armor, other various items for both in-game use and character personalization. I use personalization very loosely, as your character customization options are rather limited. But that's not the point of Helldivers. One thing about these war bonds that I cannot ignore and I have to tell everyone about is that you can basically get them for free. So, to unlock any war bond outside of the base Helldivers Mobilized bond, you need to use super credits. These can be purchased using real-world money if you wish, but for the ultra-democracy dedicated divers, you can easily accumulate the 1,000 super credits, or $10, you need just by playing the game and exploring various containers littered throughout the map. Currently, as of making this, I have only used actual money to purchase 2 of the 9 available war bonds, the rest of which I have unlocked with credits effectively refunded to you through the war bonds and farming.
Hey, you want to make a bit of money? You should do what I did. Get into farming. See this? I got this. Farming.
Which, if you're really trying for it, it doesn't take long at all. The best part is if you're in a team, if one of you finds the super credits, you all find the super credits. It's like free money! Another thing I appreciate about the war bonds is that they're not shoved into your face to buy them every 5 seconds like some other pass-heavy games do. So now that we're all caught up on what a war bond is, let's get back to August. August 6th.
New game modes, new objectives, new enemies, and even a whole new difficulty.
To give you that, we have to escalate it. An escalation of freedom.
Escalation of Freedom update is released. The devs dropped the patch notes, and they're ridiculous. Players are calling for higher difficulty than level 9. Bam! Super Helldive, baby! Repetitive mission objectives. Blow! New mission objectives. Bigger enemy bases. More bugs. More bots. More hazards. New swamp world. Let's fucking go, baby! Democracy needs us! Wait a second. What the fuck is this?
What? What? What's going on?
Some of the biggest complaints about this update was about the Breaker Incendiary shotgun. While not a personal favorite of mine, I can appreciate its value in battle, especially on the Terminid front. A fully automatic shotgun with decent stopping power and fire? There's no way you can't like it. Well, the Galaxy brains over at Arrowhead thought players liked it too much, and that it was overshadowing other weapons, particularly on the Terminid front. Personally, I didn't see it. Maybe one person in any given game was almost certain to be carrying a Breaker Incendiary. So what? That wasn't overshadowed in my opinion, nor did the weapon that someone else was carrying ever have an impact on my personal enjoyment. Only my lack of skills and having assholes for eyeballs could mess with my experience. What really set the powder keg off was the fact that the changes to the flame effects actually, I guess, caused an inadvertent nerf to the fire damage. Due to it not being able to go through various bodies and objects, this caused chargers to effectively become immune to flamethrowers, as the fire would just bounce off of the armor, resulting in no damage. What was once a mighty torch of liberty was reduced to a lighter of disappointment. Keep in mind that this came just 2 days before they released the Flames of Freedom war bond, which, as the name suggests, was heavily focused around fire. The set boasted a little flamethrower for the pistol slot, a bigger flamethrower for the primary slot, sweet-ass fire-resistant armor, my personal favorite weapon, the cookout shotgun, a badass booster turning all hell pods into literal hell pods, amongst a few other goodies. So yeah, nerfing fire right before dropping a fire-themed set, definitely not a game-winning strategy. The resulting backlash caused the player count to drop to its lowest count to date, little more than 25,000, or about 5.45% of peak player count, if you're keeping track, whatever. Do keep in mind that these player counts are only on Steam. I don't care enough for Sony or PlayStation to check their player counts. Anyone wanting to post that in the comment? Go ahead, I guess. Within about a week of player rage and backlash, Arrowhead announces their 60-day commitment to make things right with the players. Over the next couple of weeks, the usual patches and hotfixes are released. I'm not going to go into detail on each and every one of these updates. I'll link the entire list of patches and updates and whatnot below. The next update in regards to the 60-day plan came out about 2 weeks later. While nothing in the ways of updates came with this announcement, loyal Helldivers eagerly awaited the update. 12 days later, on September 17th, patch 1.001.100 was released, and with it probably the single longest list of fixes I've ever fucking seen in a single video game update. It was so massive, they dropped the update with a 40 fucking minute video. After the patch, player counts on Steam more than doubled, from less than 30,000 to nearly 70,000. Still a glimmer of what peak counts used to be, but definitely a lot more lively. Over the next few weeks, smaller patches fixing various bugs and adjusting other weapons and items in-game were released, until October 15th. This marked the self-imposed 60-day deadline announced by the developers, and with it came the second largest patch, in patch 1.001.104. Which as well came along with a 30-minute video from some of the developers. Overall, the 60-day plan was implemented rather smoothly and to positive response. Once more did we feel like Super's finest, their mightiest warriors. Once again can we dive with confidence. We spoke up and they listened. Things were going good, with few complaints from players, except a lot of people were asking the same thing since the game released. Where were the Illuminant? Now, I didn't know exactly what they were. I never played the first Helldivers, and according to the story, the Illuminant were banished from this galaxy as a result of the first galactic war with Super-Earth. So, all of this time, we've been fighting the automatons and the Terminids, with little word of even if the Illuminant were returning. I think there had been a couple of hints at things to come, but nothing was ever officially announced. Things were quiet for the most part after the conclusion of the 60-day plan. The game was in a good place, players were having fun, and democracy continued to spread across the stars. Until December 12th, 2024, the Game Awards.
Attention, citizens! Across the galaxy, the valiant Helldivers have fought to protect our way of life. But I am here with grave tidings. Managed democracy is imperiled like never before. Homes are being ravaged. Families are being abducted, and you could be next. That is, unless you direct your undivided attention to the following announcements. And remember, freedom conquers all.
Arrowhead, like the big dick Chad Chungus we know them to be, had John Giant Balls Helldiver himself come on stage and drop a stealth update, bringing with it the long-awaited Illuminant invasion. They did that shit in a way I have never seen a video game do. And let me tell you, my nipples were vibrating like they just been kissed by 1.21 gigawatts of pure eagle sweat. Shit, it still gives me tingles. That is effective marketing. Almost immediately after that announcement, player counts on Steam fucking exploded. It went from 30,000 to over 150,000. That's over a 500% increase, dumbasses. The developers didn't expect such a massive response, and because of it, servers suffered and disconnects were entirely too common. You could also have been in the small group of losers running the bare-bones minimum system specs and suffering staggering FPS drops amongst other performance issues. Personally, I had to upgrade my RAM. I was literally running the bare minimum 8 gigabytes of RAM. Fortunately, I was able to pick up a couple of sticks, and now my system is running comfortably and slapping Illuminants with 24 gigabytes of freedom-loving RAM. I absolutely love Helldivers 2. I currently have about 450 hours into the game, and I look forward to sinking many, many more. The gorgeous landscapes that vary from planet to planet, the uniquely horrifying and challenging enemies across 3 factions, the triumphant and patriotic soundtrack, the cinematic and hilariously tragic explosions. I don't think I've ever laughed so much from dying in a game before. Helldivers 2 is not a perfect game. Such a thing doesn't exist. But it has a loyal community and a dedicated development team that actually listens to its players. And in today's gaming landscape, such a thing is a rarity. It is truly something that is missing from a majority of games, especially the ones online. Too many studios are stuck under corporate thumbs and listen to people whose only interest in the game is financial, instead of the people who love the game and want to see it succeed. All in all, I'm really hopeful for the next year of Helldivers 2. I'm definitely planning on sticking around. If you haven't picked it up, I highly recommend you check it out. Even if you snag it up on a sale, by all means, it's worth every penny. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. I enjoy just randomly talking about things that I enjoy. Hopefully you guys enjoy this too. If you're still watching, thank you. And by all means, let me know what I can do to do better. This is my first video. I'm having fun with it and just kind of rambling about the things that I enjoy. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you didn't, sorry. If you want to talk shit, my comments are open. Have a great day.
What the hell are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I don't know what is going on, but somewhere our wires got crossed.